Good morning, everybody. Chuck Holton here. I'm coming to you from the lodge in West Virginia, and I hope you're having a great day. A lot of people are getting very concerned that they're not going to be receiving their welfare benefits uh, if this government shutdown continues. And that's leading to a lot of, let's just say, angst. And it should be very concerning for even people who don't rely on any of those benefits. So we're going to talk about whether or not it's actually going to happen. We're going to talk about how the Democrats have been weaponizing this shutdown against the Republicans and doing it almost in the same way that Hamas weaponizes the misery and suffering of the Palestinian people against Israel. So they're taking a page out of that. And, all of this uncertainty is that leads right into our sponsor, Preserve Gold. If you had put $10,000 into gold 10 years ago, you would have tripled your money by now. And it is there are different ways that you can buy gold. You can buy it through a exchange traded fund, or you can buy futures. There's lots of paper methods to buy gold, but the best way to own gold is to have the physical metal in your hands. And that's what Preserve Gold is all about. They don't mess with any of those crazy REITs or RITs or all these different acronyms or whatever. They just deal with the physical metal itself. And you can actually put your retirement savings, or at least a portion of them, into Preserve Gold or into physical gold through Preserve Gold by uh, just moving it into a gold IRA, and Preserve Gold will help show you how to do that. If you text Chuck to 50505, you can get a free wealth protection guide from Preserve Gold, or you can call them, and I would recommend that you do that. That's easier. You'll get a real live person, and they will talk you through the process. And so if you're coming up to retirement or in retirement now, it's a really good idea to at least have some part of your retirement assets in physical gold and silver. Don't go for all the paper derivatives and all that. Get the real metal, and if it's in an IRA, they'll help you set up a vault for it someplace so that it can qualify and show you how to do that. But definitely, you're going to want to check out preservegold.com, not just for gold, but they do silver and palladium and all the other metals too. So check them out. That's preservegold.com/Chuck Holton, or text Chuck to 50505 for your free wealth protection guide. Okay. Now, here's the thing that we're seeing. I'm gonna start playing some of these videos for you. And I had a real problem because I was going through social media today and downloading a bunch of the videos that people are putting up, threatening to actually loot and riot if they don't get their welfare benefits. And that's obviously concerning. The problem I had was there was almost nothing that I could actually show you, because every one of these videos was just laced with so much profanity, and I don't put that on this show. We don't do profanity on this show. And so I was like, I can't even show them anything. I'm just gonna have to turn off all the audio. But so what I did was I put a bunch of these together and I edited them. uh, I bleeped out all the profanity. And look, that took a lot of work, let me tell you. And I think it says something about the culture that America has today. That, yeah, I mean, words mean things. One of the reasons that I dislike vulgarity and profanity is that words actually mean things, and there is an appropriate time, perhaps, to scream a profanity. I mean, I've been known to turn the air blue when I smack my thumb with a hammer or something like that. But my father, he was the consummate expert at what I would call creative Christian cussing. He could go for 5 minutes straight with very colorful language and not actually use any vulgarities or profanities. It was just like, "Dadgum cotton picker, chicken plucker," and he'd just go on and on and on. Uh, and I really learned to respect that because when I was in the military, of course, there's a tremendous amount of foul language that's used throughout the military, and it was really hard not to let that rub off on me. It definitely got me sort of inured to it, so it doesn't bother me so much anymore. But I just believe that it is a sign of a lack of education. It's a sign of a lack of the ability to express yourself accurately when you have to bring in some kind of vulgarity to try to get your point across when you're not actually talking about something that's vulgar, when you're not actually talking about something that is profane or sacrilegious. If you're going to, I had a platoon sergeant. I know I'm ranting here, but I had a platoon sergeant once who literally he could not complete a sentence without dropping an F bomb in there somewhere. And the problem was, whenever he actually got upset, there was nowhere for him to go. And everybody just sort of looked at him if he's screaming profanities because he was always screaming profanities, even when he wasn't mad. So we didn't know when he was actually upset. And so he would have to like flip his desk over or something to show us he was really serious. Now, look, if you get attacked on the street by somebody, I'm not going to fault you for using a few choice words while you try to defend yourself. But when it's just a part and parcel of your everyday language, and especially from women, I think that's just gross. It's just really inappropriate uh, for men to use profanities or vulgarities around in mixed company, and it's even worse when women do it. That's just me. Maybe that's just me, but I think a lot of you probably feel the same way. And so I tried to bleep out as much of it as I could, but I want to show you what these people are saying about what's going to happen if they don't get their welfare benefits coming up in November and December.
Yo, Trump, you a New Yorker, man. Don't do us New Yorkers like that, you heard? Nah, but serious? If you deny the whole America food stamps, bro, it's gonna be a problem. Walmart, get ready. New York City, we got C-Town, Pioneer, Key Food. Get ready. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, it's gonna get lit. BJ's, Costco's, get ready. You think we just gonna stay still? Hell no. Hell no. For a fact. Excuse me. If they take EBT, what you doing? She don't know. For me, but we gonna loot. We gonna get top. You feel me? She said she don't know. I don't know, but I'm gonna get mine.
Donald J. Let my wife me next month that we ain't getting it for our mother kids. You think I'm playing? This ain't no Donald.
Okay, so I'm going to stop it right there for a second because I want to comment on that. Did you notice that guy was driving in his car with a bunch of children? And I almost had to bleep out every word he said. It was just nothing but profanity. That says something about the class of people that we're talking about. And I realize that, the news exists to report the out of the ordinary. So what I'm showing you here are definitely, I hope, the out of the ordinary, but I fear that America is moving more and more that way, that we're shifting the Overton window to the point where, people can just talk like that around their children and it's no big deal. But that is a big deal. That is indicative of a very, very low class person, first of all, who absolutely has no care whatsoever for he's saying, I better get my food because I got all these kids. Well, you obviously don't care about your kids if you're talking like that in front of them. That's just my opinion on this. But so anyway, that is really gross. And you hear what these people are saying. We're going to go to Costco. We're going to go to the grocery store, and we're going to go to BJ's, and we're just going to take what we need. We're just going to take it. We're going to steal it. This lady here, she goes on and on. I almost couldn't include her. It took so much work to bleep this lady out. It's unbelievable.
I'm gonna tell y'all straight up like this. I just got that text that the link is definitely cut the off for November. Y'all better stay the my way in these stores. I'm walking out with carts and I'm not paying. Trump, if you won't start looting, it's gonna happen. Before my kids go broke in this bitch like Jock, I'm gonna be stealing like it ain't no tomorrow. I am going to go in that store, get everything I get regularly. I'm going to bag my swipe my link card as soon as that say ain't no pending balance on there. I'm going to walk out. And I'm going to have one of my cousins with me that'll punch your so hard you going to think a Jet 2 holiday hit your if you think I ain't finna walk out that stuff. And please follow me to that car. If you feeling frog, you ain't going to make it back to your position at that Walmart store. I'm telling you.
Now, look, this woman is obviously not starving. And that kind of led me down the rabbit hole of doing some research on just how pervasive the welfare system is in America. And I'm going to continue to talk about this. I'm going to show you some statistics here in a minute, but I want to keep going through these videos because you'll see that there are several things in common for each one of these videos. Number one, the people are typically morbidly obese. Number two, they've got a lot of kids. Number three, they are extremely low class. Let's just put it that way. And these are the kinds of people who make a living or make a life off the backs of American taxpayers. And they don't mind saying it. They don't mind saying it at all. You'll hear in a minute a couple of these ladies saying the taxpayers have to provide for my kids. Take a look.
All I know is if I don't receive my benefits this month, the food stamps, I feel bad for them shop, right? I will just be rolling my cart out that like I paid for it. But I guess the card just didn't work this month. It'll work next month. I owe y'all now, I guess, because I'm going to be eating Thanksgiving. I'm eating for Thanksgiving. I don't know what the they talking about. And I'm having turkey, ham, all the good
Oh, he's gonna have a great Thanksgiving. He doesn't care. He's gonna have all of it.
Have not eaten 5 days. It is the taxpayer's responsibility to take care of my kids.
Trump done cut them food stamps off.
So
Wait a minute. It is the taxpayer's responsibility to provide for my kids. That's what she said.
they say 2 million is getting cut off this month for the scamps. I'm about to go find out if I'm in that number, in that ratio. It's been day 5 and I have not received no food stamps. My disability checks is on hold. My cash benefits is not coming no more. They're still pending. It is the taxpayer's job to pay for my kids to eat and for my kids to be taken care of. I have over 2,000 followers on TikTok and I can't get not one person to send me 50 cents. If you're watching a video and you can't send me nothing, I'll block you.
Okay, so this lady obviously thinks that it is the job of the American taxpayer to pay for her children. And unfortunately, there are a tremendous number of people in America who live that way, who think that way. When you look at the numbers, approximately 12% of all of the people who live in America are on some sort of government assistance. Now, that doesn't include things like your Social Security. That doesn't include your actual entitlements that you have if you're a veteran, disability benefits or anything like that. That's just TANF, temporary assistance for needy families, SNAP, the supplemental nutrition assistance program, and other welfare programs like that. But that represents about 12% of Americans. And let me just tell you at the outset, that is not sustainable. To have 1 out of every 10 people, more than 1 out of every 10 people receiving government benefits and not actually contributing to the society, that gets very expensive very fast for the people who are paying the 153 million people in America who are taxpayers pay an average of just over $1,000 a year to support people like this. So we could cut your taxes by $1,000 a year if the government didn't do this. Now we're going to talk in a minute about how does this work in countries where they don't have these kinds of programs, and how did it work in America before we got all these programs? Believe it or not, there were poor people back then, and they survived. They actually did not starve to death before we put all these programs in place. So what we're starting to see are people that they have it doesn't bother them one bit to go into a store and start just filling their cart full of food and then try to walk out. And you're seeing a lot of violence erupting in places like that. Let's check this one out. There's a woman over on the left that's got a baby. She's got her baby there, and she's trying to steal food, and now they're all mad. The baby's crying. They're throwing stuff. This is insane. You don't have to look far on social media to find videos like that. There are far more than there should be. And don't ever go near a Spirit Airlines counter at the airport because that sort of thing happens on a regular basis there. But again, I wrote this book called Death of Civilization because I predicted you are going to see more and more of this, especially during the Trump administration. It's not the fault of President Trump. It's the fault of the Democrats who are weaponizing people's misery against President Trump. And we're gonna talk about that. I mean, look, please don't get from this that I'm saying that we shouldn't be compassionate and we shouldn't help people that are in need. We should just look the other way when people are poor or hungry or whatever. But what the point I am making is that the most loving thing to do for people is rarely just to give them a check. The most loving thing you can do for people is sometimes to let them face the consequences of bad choices so that they make better choices. But if we facilitate their bad choices, we get more of what we are trying to address. We get more of the problem we're trying to address. As my friend Michael Yon likes to say, if you feed the ducks, you get more ducks. That's just how it works. Here's some more ducks for you.
If 42 million people are at risk of not receiving their EBT benefits in the month of November, I don't think that the grocery store staff should be risking their lives for a bag of groceries.
Everybody going around saying that motherfuckers ain't getting food stamp next month. Mind you, I'm on food stamp. Let me tell you this right now. Donald J. Trump, I don't know what the you got going on in that house of yours, but bitch, you better fix it. Just because your going through some don't mean you gotta take it out on everybody else. Fix this right now. Let me not get my food stamps. Let me not get my food stamps. I'm going back to stealing. I don't care. If you leave your car unlocked in the middle of the night, lock it. Because if I don't get no food stamps, best believe me and mine's gonna eat regardless.
So, I mean, obviously, this guy is threatening felonious behavior if he doesn't get the money that is uh, a social welfare program. And what I'm saying is, first of all, these things were never meant to be permanent. But we're going to talk in a minute about how they make them permanent, how they manage to make them permanent. And so they were not only not meant to be permanent, but it's kind of a privilege. It's a privilege for you if you live in America that we have a very wealthy country, and there's a reason for that because of the Judeo-Christian foundation of our country and the work ethic of the Puritans. And so we have largesse that we can share, and so we try to take care of people who are poor. That's something that should engender gratitude in you, not anger when you don't get what you think you deserve. And now, let me ask you, that guy that's threatening to go out and steal from you if he doesn't get his check, what do you think he did to deserve the thousands of dollars he's likely getting every year from the American taxpayer? What do you think he did to contribute to our society? Does that guy strike you as the kind of person that is a net benefit to our society or a net liability? I'm just not to say he's not made in the image of God and worthy of human dignity, but what do you think he did to deserve the money that he's getting from the welfare programs? I struggle to see where, how you could make that case. Now, this next video is just a woman showing what she buys with the money that she gets from the EBT cards that she receives through TANF and
Club
SNAP.
as a recently unemployed wife to a family of 9 using EBT. Despite my best efforts to keep a budget, I absolutely failed. I went over by more than $100 at Sam's, and I'm sure I'll pay for that later in the month. But I didn't really have a choice in my defense because these kids depleted every single thing we had in the fridge, pantry, and freezer. My daughter decided that she wanted to play that little game where you go up and down the aisle and you point to something, and when the person says stop, whatever you land on is what you buy. She cheated. She wanted hot chips, so she changed it at the very last second. But whatever, I let her get what she wanted. And last but certainly not least, thank you to Sam's Club for giving us this pizza and this ice cream.
Okay, so she got pizza and ice cream and hot chips and it looked like a whole lot of other junk food. And that leads into a whole different conversation. The CDC says that American culture is what they call obesogenic. And what that basically means is that if you live in America, it's almost impossible for you not to eat unhealthy and get morbidly obese. Just because of the chemicals that are in our food and the type of foods that are made available to us. The thing is, I don't believe that because, look, I live in, spend much of my time in Panama, and Panama has, I tend to eat much healthier there, year-round growing season, lots of vegetables and stuff like that. There's no fast food in our little town, so I can't just swing through Burger King and get a burger or something. And however, what I find is that if I want to really eat healthy and I want to eat a vegan diet or a keto diet, and I want to eat as healthy as possible, it's much cheaper and easier to do that in the United States than it is to do that in Panama. And so it's not that there is no availability of healthy food. It's just that there's so much tasty, unhealthy food that's scientifically formulated to get you addicted that you can't help but become morbidly obese. And I mean, that just comes down to self-discipline, in my opinion. And that's something that, it doesn't come easier for some people over another. You're not born as a tremendously disciplined person. Discipline is a muscle that you have to exercise your will, right? And make stronger through daily discipline exercises, things like meditation and prayer and fasting and stuff like that. But it doesn't appear that any of these people have been engaging in any kind of discipline exercise ever in their life. And so they just do whatever's most comfortable, and they just want to live that way, and they're stuck in that and don't want to get out of it. The only thing that would cause them to get out of that unhealthy cycle would be to make them so uncomfortable that they had to get out of it. And that would be a great idea. That's something the government should pursue. We're going to talk about the way that the government tries to keep people in those unhealthy behaviors in just a second. Okay, so this is another guy who's mad because he's not getting his money.
If I can't get money, nobody's getting their money. I've been out here this whole whoa, this whole ain't nobody getting their fucking fair. Dude. Ain't nobody getting their money. Nigga.
Let's leave, sir.
Let me doing Kurt Cobain like that, dude. Nobody's getting your money.
Okay, so I mean, obviously, these people have serious issues with self-control, and I mean, this guy's committing a crime right there by destroying the equipment on that desk. It makes me wonder: is that guy ever going to have to pay for that? Is he ever going to go to jail for that? Probably not. That was in California, and the attorneys out there would not even look at a case like that. And so he just is going to get away with it. And that means that it's going to happen again and again. And other people are going to see that and think, oh, that's the right way to react if somebody says something I don't like. Just start destroying the place. We see this so much in America nowadays. And you know what? You don't see it in many other countries, because in many other countries, Panama, I know for a fact, if somebody started doing that, they would get torn to pieces. They would get, taken out. That security guard that was standing next to that guy in that video was just like trying to talk him down, like, hey man, why are you doing that? You shouldn't do that. Well, how good is your security if your security guard's not even allowed to stop somebody from destroying your office? In Panama, they don't have the kind of the reason that security guard couldn't lay hands on that guy and throw him out was because if he did, then that guy would sue him and the company, and he would get fired. He would lose his job. The company would have to make a settlement with this black kid, and it's all upside down and backwards. In many other countries, it doesn't work like that. If somebody's doing something like that, you can physically throw them out and there won't be any repercussions. I have had to do that to people in Panama a couple of times. And so it just shows just an unbelievable lack of self-discipline, but also it shows that our culture, being hyper litigious and, risk averse, is feeding right into this and is facilitating and encouraging that kind of behavior.
People are going to start, I'm telling you, this is going to be a thing. People are going to start, instead of stealing groceries from the stores, they're going to start watching people go to their cars. And they're going to take all of their groceries. And you know what the store going to do? Not our problem. Not our business. It's outside the store. They didn't do it in the store. It's not our property. Call 911. Call the authorities. Make a report. They're going to leave for dead. And people are really going to be stealing people carts of groceries out of the grocery parking lot. I'm telling you. It seems like it's headed that way. Now, what other choices are people going to have to find food to eat? Because people about to be out here struggling. They about to be out here bad. So do you really think they're going to look at you with all these groceries, packing it in your car, about to go home and feed your family from the, hard-earned money that you made from working your job? that afforded you the affordability to buy those groceries. They ain't gonna give a They ain't gonna care. They gonna snatch them bags up out your hand and be like, I wish you would.
Okay, so this lady's making some valid points. It is always pretty astounding to me how many people there are in our society today who literally have no cushion. They have no margin. Uh, they have not put any money away. They don't save anything from what they make. And so when a crisis comes and something happens that would upset your typical system of being able to pay for things, they just lose it. They just lose it. I've seen it happen here in West Virginia when we had a power outage, and all the roads were blocked and the trees fell down and everything. And within 24 hours, within just a few hours, there were people down at the local gas station down here, and they didn't have any electricity, so they couldn't sell anything because the electronic cash registers or whatever. And the people were saying, they were banging on the door of the gas station when I pulled up there, and they were screaming, I've got no food for my babies. We've got no food in our house. We're going to starve. It had only been like 12 hours since the power went out. You don't have enough cash to buy yourself a week's worth of food? What's a week's worth of food? $400 for a family? I don't know. I mean, when we had our 5 kids as teenagers, it was a lot more than that. But what do you think that these people will do? There are so many people in America today that do not have the margin to weather any kind of storm whatsoever. And so they're going to look at you rolling out of Walmart with your groceries, and they're going to just say, I'm just going to take it. I'm desperate, and I'm going to take it. Desperate people will do desperate things. So I'm curious, Mama Rissa, let me ask all of you, what would you say your weekly grocery bill is, and how many people are in your home? I'm just interested. I don't really do much shopping, so I don't really know what things cost anymore. But yes, this lawlessness is definitely going to happen if these people are cut off from their benefits. Okay.
I have not ate in 5 days.
Now wait, I don't wait. Hang on. This lady has her hair done. She's got her nails done. She's got fake eyelashes on. She's in she's got, is that a Gucci bag on the wall behind her? I don't know what that is. This woman is not eaten in 5 days. I have a hard time believing that.
It is the taxpayer's responsibility to feed me.
What? It's the taxpayer's responsibility? I don't think so.
5 whole days I haven't ate.
Let me tell you know how many people I have seen saying that they're gonna go to Walmart and steal? Like, they don't know that we don't give a like, either you're gonna give us food or we're gonna take that bitch. Why are they doing this? Like, why are they trying us like this? Like,
Donald Trump done up. Let's just make it clear, okay? He talking about people ain't getting food stamps in November and probably not December. He better get ready because it's about to go down, okay? What you gonna learn is you don't play with black people's food stamps, okay? So get ready because people about to just start taking shit, okay?
Trump cutting off food stamps right before Thanksgiving, bad and all, but my people ran out of stores with the cart.
Now, notice she doesn't say the Democrats refused to vote on a continuing resolution to fund the government, the same one that they voted for several times in the past, because they're trying to weaponize the budgeting process against the Republicans. And so and their messaging is getting through. This woman believes that President Trump just hit a button and turned off the food stamps.
Fool, I bet it's gonna be some turkey on my plate. Ham, mashed potatoes, greens, dressing. It's gonna all be there. Don't worry about it.
Now, why is this woman so concerned about uh, celebrating Thanksgiving when there's literally no gratitude in what she's saying. She has no gratitude for the work that people she doesn't even know do every day to pay their taxes so that she can get the food that she needs through those food stamp programs. And that's likely because she's not educated enough to understand that that's how it works. She just thinks the government can just make it out of thin air and send it to her. I've talked about this before, but charity makes people grateful. The lack of when the government steps between you and a charitable person and takes the money from them by taxation and then sends it to the poor person, it removes that impetus to gratitude. As a matter of fact, there's a book I have here called Who Really Cares? This is by Arthur C. Brooks. It's an old book. It's been around for a long time. And they did studies, and they said they found out that if you have two people who live below the poverty line, one of them gets their income from government programs and the other one works to make their income, but they both make the same amount of money. The family that works to make money will be 7 times more charitable than the family who receives money from the government. Even though they have the same amount of money, they'll be 7 times more charitable. So it's obvious that these government programs are exacerbating the problem of poverty and not fixing the problem, not addressing it. These things are supposed to be temporary programs, right? You understand that? Now, I asked ChatGPT to make a list of all of the various programs that people like this can sign up for if their income is low enough. If you live in New York, because a lot of these people seem to be in New York. And so in New York, there are federal, state, and local programs that these people can sign up for. And if you look here, I'm going to full screen this so you can read it. There's SNAP benefits, federal CTC, New York State child tax credit, BTC and state supplements, Medicaid health coverage, and this estimated value, and other support, all of which comes out to about $57,000 a year. Okay, and it's similar in other parts of the country as well. I mean, there are federal, state, and local programs. You've heard me talk about the immigrants that I met, the migrants who came into the United States illegally, and they have WhatsApp groups that they share all this information on, and they know how to game this system so that they can sign up for multiple sets of these programs where they're only really supposed to be able to get one. But for example, they've learned to not sign up as a married couple, but to sign up as 2 single people, and they get twice as much money. As a matter of fact, these programs deter people from getting married and having their children in wedlock, because if you have 2 incomes in your household, it will put you over the threshold to get those benefits. And so they just stay unmarried. And even if they're living together, they use different addresses, and that way they can double the amount of money they get. So instead of 57,000, they could be getting twice that, perhaps, or more. The people that I have followed who do that sort of thing, they would sign up for state programs in multiple different states, Texas, Florida, New York, and claim residency in these various different places. And they figured out how to defraud the system, game the system. The temporary assistance for needy families, TANF, that's the EBT cards everybody talks about. That can give people, they can get up to like $2,300 a month, depending on where, with their family and everything. But that's only supposed to go for 5 years total for your whole life. There's cumulative over your entire life. You can only receive TANF benefits for 5 years. However, if you get certified as being disabled in any way, shape, or form, then that can be waived and you can get it forever. Why do you think many of the people that we're seeing that are so upset about this are 350 pounds? I'm not saying that they tried to get that way, but they're probably on disability just because of their weight and the associated medical problems that come with weighing 350 pounds. Some of those people are a lot more than 350 pounds too. And so they are they're gaming that system in a way by claiming that disability, and they can continue to get those TANF benefits for their entire life. You saw the woman who was in Costco with her daughter. She's raising her daughter up to be the same way. Her daughter was morbidly obese for a little girl. We see that all the time here in West Virginia. As a matter of fact, they run out of those motorized carts at the local Walmart because you'll see entire families going by where mom, dad, and 2 or 3 kids, all of them have to have their own cart because walking around Walmart is just too much exercise. They just can't handle that. And I mean, that's a vicious cycle that they can't break out of. I mean, they could, but they won't. They won't break out of. So when it comes to the number of people that are on these kinds of programs, the federal government shutdown is affecting, they're saying, probably 47 million people. These are programs like SNAP, WIC, TANF. Now, most likely, these things are going to get funded before November. Even if the federal government doesn't fund these programs, some states have said that they will pick up the funding until the government gets reopened. But there is a possibility that their benefits could stall in the next month if the standoff drags on. So, as you see, social media is just erupting with angry videos about people worried about what they're going to do if they can't get their benefits. So I said 47 million. I'm sorry, it's 42 million Americans that rely on SNAP. There's another 6 to 7 million on WIC and 21 million or so receiving free or reduced price school meals. So all told, you've got tens of millions of people on government food assistance. And again, that doesn't include Medicare, that doesn't include Social Security, that doesn't include retirement, that doesn't include disability. This isn't fringe. This is a massive pillar of federal spending, over $1 trillion a year. Again, if you take all 153 million taxpayers in America, the average taxpayer pays about $1,000 a year to cover these programs. But they were meant to be temporary. That's why TANF says it's called temporary assistance for needy families. But whether they do it legally, game the system, or illegally game the system, there are millions of people who are gaming the system and are on these programs forever. Now, I want to talk about what I call the benefits cliff. This is how these programs actually punish people for working. It's a dirty little secret. If a welfare recipient earns too much money, gets a job and earns too much money, they can lose everything. The benefits cliff means that one small raise can wipe out thousands of dollars of your benefits, your aid benefits from welfare. So, for example, single mom gets a $150 a month raise at work, and that triggers the loss of $700 in SNAP benefits. So what are we doing with that kind of system? We're encouraging people not to work harder, not to get more hours, not to go out and try to find a way to pay for themselves because they don't want to lose that money. If somebody saves up, tries to get it off of this welfare and they save up $1,000 in their checking account, they hit that $1,000, boom, they lose these benefits. And so it creates a rational disincentive to work. It also creates a rational disincentive to get married. And that's one of the reasons why we see, especially in inner cities and lower class communities in America, the absolute dearth of married families. I mean, that 70, 80% of children are born out of wedlock in many of these communities. So states know this. They understand that there's a benefits cliff, and there are things that they could do to get rid of that. So like say, okay, for every dollar over this threshold that you make, you lose 20 cents in benefits. And then we'll phase it out as your income goes up. Something like that would work. But as it turns out, the politicians don't actually want people to get off of these benefits, because this is how they control them. This is how they use them as foot soldiers in their quest to control America forever. Now, some of these programs, TANF does this, the earned income tax credits. So people who don't actually pay any money in taxes can get between $7,000 and $10,000 given back to them annually because of the earned income tax credit or the child tax credit, and that's lump sum. So that's cash money. So this is not all going for food. That cash is spent on everything. There's studies that have shown that there millions of dollars of welfare money gets spent at strip clubs, for example, or bars, or gets spent on liquor or drugs around the country. So obviously, it's very difficult for a nation that to have accountability on people when they're passing out money with a fire hose on these poor people, and there's just no accountability. So the shutdown's real test is going to come in November, because they're not guaranteed to pay these things out. Now, WIC would go dark first. SNAP would follow after that. If the shutdown lasts, there is a possibility that millions of households could suddenly lose food money. And so I'll let you make up your own mind about, the politicians on both sides who, oh, by the way, they're still getting their paychecks with this shutdown. But they don't mind weaponizing people's misery and hunger against the Republicans or against President Trump. So if that happens, folks, things could get really bad across America. Now, there's an article that a friend of mine wrote about 20 years ago. You've heard me mention it before. The author's name is Matt Bracken, and he wrote an article in, I think, 2002 called "When the Music Stops, How America's Cities May Explode in Violence." So again, this was like 20 years ago that he wrote this article, and he almost perfectly predicted where we are today. I'm going to post in the chat a link to this article if you want to go read it. Just click on it and open it in your browser, and then you can read it later. But what he says is really chilling, because he says that, when people who are accustomed to being provided for are suddenly cut off from those funds, they're not going to go stand in line for food. They're going to just start taking it. And we're going to see large-scale urban riots. They say that the average American home has less than 2 weeks of food on hand. In poor or minority areas, it could be a lot less than that. And so if a cascading economic crisis leads to these millions of EBT cards flashing error signs because they're empty, it could be the result of a government shutdown. It could be the result of sabotage by hackers or whatever. But the bottom line is, these people are going to they're going to resort to flash mob looting. We're all just going to go to Walmart and we're all just going to fill our carts and walk out the door. They can't arrest all of us. That's going to be the mindset. So I wanted to point this out because this goes along with my book, Death of Civilization. If you don't have that book, you should get it, where I talk about how you can make your community more resilient in the face of things like this, of what we call the failure of civility. If you want to see a failure of civility, just stop paying those welfare benefits, and you're going to see the failure of civility really fast. That's the moral of this story. And so you need to be prepared for that. As a responsible American or human being, because we have a lot of people that aren't in America, you need to start planning ahead before the 1st of November and start looking for ways to look. We all know around here, you don't go to Walmart on the 1st of the month because everybody gets their benefit checks and Walmart is just slammed with people. So you go the second week of the month to Walmart because then everybody's already spent all their money and they don't have any money. You go toward the end of the month, nobody's got any money, and you can go to Walmart and shop in safety. It would be a really good idea for you in the next 8 days or so to go get enough food to last you through the next month, at least. And if you don't have food stored up, look, it doesn't take that much money. I see a lot of people who say, oh, I can't afford that. I'm on a fixed income. I can't afford to store up. Yes, you can. You just have to maybe buy things that you might not like to eat as much. Maybe stop buying, so much junk food and invest in, a large tub of rolled oats, for example. You can eat oatmeal every morning for a month if you had to. It's not going to kill you. That's pretty cheap. Potatoes are pretty cheap. There's plenty of things out there that you could get to live on and eat for very little money. And there's a million YouTube videos on how to do that. So you have no excuse to say, well, I can't afford it. If you just don't have the money, well, maybe it's time to pick up a few extra shifts at work or go get a little part-time job or something and start saving that money up. Don't use it to improve your lifestyle, to go get your nails done and your hair done and your eyelashes done and whatever else you're having done. Don't use it for that. Use it to store up some food in your pantry. Bottom line is, folks, you're not going to want to be around at the beginning of November if this stuff goes down the way people are afraid it will. Now, let's get to some questions. Cheryl Miller says, are the people threatening to riot the same people who burn our flags and hate our country? Some of them, yes, but in many cases, no. In many cases, Antifa is made up of rich white kids who have never been told no. And typically, there are certainly some lower class elements of society. I would certainly call Antifa low class, no matter how much money they have. Class is not a measure of how wealthy you are in terms of money. Class is how you comport yourself. Class is whether or not you can act like a civilized human being. And so whether or not they are the same people, it's going to go down. Okay. Thank you, DeFore. I appreciate the $10. Mama Rissa says, my brother-in-law go and get on EBT to fund their food for hunting season, and my Phil encourages it. Father-in-law, it's so freaking gross. It makes me so angry. Well, yeah, that's I don't. It's like people don't have any self-respect, because even when I have been extremely broke, I've never gone and signed up for any kind of social welfare program. I qualify for disability through the Veterans Administration because of my time in the military. And I could be getting $3,000-$4,000 a month right now from the Veterans Administration, but I never signed up for that because I've got too much self-respect. I volunteered for the military. I knew the risks. I took the risks gladly. I got a lot out of my time in the military, and I'm not going to go sign up for, I still pay a lot in taxes, so I guess I could call it a tax rebate if I wanted to sign up for those things, but I haven't. And it's hard for me to understand people who have that mindset. Question, has the administration addressed any exceptions? And let me just say, I don't fault anybody who is on disability or who does get their disability through the VA, for their time in service. I personally chose not to sign up for that and just sucked it up. And again, so I'm not criticizing people who are on disability. I'm just saying I chose not to. Cheryl Miller says, has the administration addressed any exceptions for elderly or disabled citizens if they find a need to cut some benefits? Uh, I haven't seen where they've addressed that other than saying, you know, the Republicans blame it on the Democrats, and the Democrats blame it on the Republicans. So Tim Hobbs says, could this chaos you're talking about push more people back to the church and bring the community that God wants us to have? Very good question, Tim. That's what my new book that's coming out later this year or first of next year is about. It's called Red Teams, and it's about making your church the place that people in your community come when they are in need and not the government. That is what it used to be like. The government didn't used to provide all that stuff. It used to be provided through what we call parallel structures to government, which are aid societies, clubs, and clubs like the Lions Club and the Rotary Club and things like that, and the church. Those are parallel structures to government, and the needy used to get their needs met by the church, by the Freemasons and the Rotary Club and the Moose Lodge and all that kind of stuff. We don't sign up for those things anymore because the government has taken that job on for us, and it doesn't do a good job at it. It does a terrible job at addressing people's poverty. When it's done through a parallel structure to government, there's a lot more accountability. And so if somebody's coming to my church to get food because they can't afford food, and I see them on TikTok with their nails done and their hair done, complaining about the benefits that they get, I'm going to stop giving them the food. That's all there is to it. So Julie Russell says, is this leading into Agenda 2030 where all the people are shuffled into 15-minute cities and buildings? Wouldn't surprise me. I mean, there's been a lot. That's a whole different discussion. That certainly there are elements in the government, and not just local governments or federal government, but the world government, that want to control us. And there's a biblical, side to that, a prophecy. And so I think your answer is yes, Julie. Looks like my internet crapped out there for a minute. Arnold Floyd says, what gets me is people like this get all this help, but many veterans that actually need it get almost nothing, if anything. That's true. That's true. I hope that under the current administration, that is getting better. Bob in Indiana says, do you remember when President Reagan used to quote President Franklin Roosevelt saying, welfare is a narcotic, a subtle destroyer of human souls? That's a great quote. I've never heard that before, but that's a really good one. CE says, do you know how many boyfriends live with their girlfriends while she collects, or vice versa? Yeah, a lot, because the government encourages it. But if you're married, you can't both get benefits. But if you're single, you can both get benefits. So yes. Lord Peanut says, why are the politicians getting paid? That is a really good question. Why do they? It should be a law, but they would have to pass that law, and they're not going to pass that law. So that's why. Tim says, could this chaos I already got that one. What could this mean for SSI and Medicaid cuts? So far, those are still being funded. Medicaid and SSI are not part of they're what they call essential parts of the budget that are already continued to be funded. They're not going to go away. So let's see here. Who's next? Dead America says, is this deployment a ploy? Is this for the violence that might come from the no SNAP or food stamps? No, they are sending National Guard troops to places like Chicago, Portland, and San Francisco because there are groups of Antifa idiots there who are trying to destroy the ICE facilities and the federal buildings in those cities. But you can bet that if the EBT cards start flashing zeros tomorrow, they're going to need to deploy National Guard around the country, throughout the country. And so, again, my advice to you is to prepare yourself, because if this goes on, And it looks like I mean, right now, neither of the sides is moving toward one another. They're both just holding the line. Personally, as somebody who doesn't receive any of those kind of benefits, I'm free of that. It doesn't bother me. It's not a big deal for me. And there's a lesson in that the less you rely on the government, the less it will matter if the government goes away. So, I sat on an airplane next to Shelley Moore Capito a while back, and we were flying to DC, and she said, well, I like to talk to my constituents, and so what is it that you think the government doesn't understand? And I said, Senator, what? Or is she a senator or a congresswoman? I forget. Anyway, I said, look, what you don't understand is that all I want from you is for you to leave me alone. Stop taking my money. Leave me alone. Let me live my life. And I don't want to have to deal with the government at all. That's all I care about. So that's the moral of this story, is that we should work to be less reliant on the government, and we should definitely get ourselves prepared in the next week or so in case this thing goes on. Now, want to just say, please go to chuckholton.com, and you can sign up there for updates, early access to a lot of our videos, and a whole lot more. We're going to be selling these T-shirts there pretty soon. This is another one of the Hot Zone T-shirts we had made. And so they will be up on our store here pretty soon, so you can get those just in time for Christmas. And you saw the monkey one I had on yesterday, and then we've got several other models that I'll be modeling for you over the next few days. So also, let me ask you to check out my new YouTube channel, which is called Borderline Global Adventures. Just a lot of just calm, beautiful, peaceful, tranquil video that you would probably like if you walk on a treadmill or something. So you can also go to the link tree there in the ticker on the bottom, and can donate if you want to donate to help the people that we help around the world, because I think charity is always my responsibility and your responsibility. It's not the government's responsibility to feed poor people. It's our responsibility to do it. And so I try to do it, even especially because the government is so bad at doing it. And you should too. If we all did that, then the government wouldn't need to have all these programs, and they wouldn't have near as much power over us. Okay. All right, folks, thank you very much for watching the podcast today. Don't forget to visit our sponsor, Preserve Gold. If you text Chuck to 50505, they can get you started, or give them a phone call, or go to their website. Preserve Gold is, they've been really great to us. So I'm glad to hear from many of you who have already been over there and have gotten some physical gold and silver, storing up for the future. That's called making good choices with your money, folks. That's how that works. All right. God bless you. Thank you very much for watching, and we will see you all next time. Bye-bye.